The reason that we move over to chapter 12 is because you get to see the skills that you learned with your algebra in this actual topic. Strictly speaking, this topic is a focus study. It's on blood alcohol. It's called Driving Safely. There's a big focus on blood alcohol content, and the way that it's connected to the algebra skills that you've learned is because it has two formulas. Now, there are two formulas for calculating the blood alcohol content. The reason there are two is simply because one is for males and the other is for females. So there are two different formulas depending on whether you are male or female. So when you read a question, obviously, or hopefully, something will be obvious that the person they're talking about is either male or female. So the other thing, so obviously the sex of the person, male or female, has a big impact on your blood alcohol content. Your body weight, very small, slightly built people will have a higher blood alcohol content than after consuming the same amount as someone who is bigger. Also, how quickly the drinks are consumed is critical to the actual reading of your blood alcohol content, and obviously then the amount consumed. So let's have a look at these formulas. So BAC stands for blood alcohol content. It's always measured in grams per 100 ml. So if you've got a reading of 2, then it meant you had 2 grams per 100 ml of blood. 2 grams of alcohol per 100 mils of blood was present in your system. So the formula for males is this. Hopefully it becomes obvious. This is a fraction. I'm going to write it a little bit bigger and talk about it. So it's a fraction. So to calculate blood alcohol content for males, we need 10 times N, where N is the number of standard drinks consumed. Well, that makes sense. N for number of standard drinks consumed, minus 7.5 times H. You can probably guess what H would be, knowing that I've said how quickly the drinks are consumed or the time over which they're consumed. Yes, H is the number of hours of drinking. So clearly, if you drank 5 drinks in 1 hour, you're going to be much more affected than if you drank 5 drinks in 5 hours. And all of that then needs to be divided by 6.8 times M. Now the other another critical factor in blood alcohol content reading is your mass, M for mass. So it'll probably be given as a weight in kilograms. This is a fraction. You've got to think about how we dealt with fractions. Remember, my strong advice was always there's more than one thing in the numerator or the denominator to introduce brackets. Well, this is going to be a good example where you need to do that. The brackets aren't drawn in, but you have to know to include the brackets. For females, it's a similar formula. However, this time it's still 10N. It's still minus 7.5 hours. It's still all divided by, but this time it's 5.5 times the mass or the weight of the female. Again, it's a fraction. There's more than one thing in the numerator. There's more than one thing in the denominator. And remember, there's a multiplication sign there. So now to use that formula, think about the different components. So we could simply use the formula to work out the blood alcohol content. However, we could also use that formula to work out the number of drinks, or we could use this formula to find the number of hours over which the person has been drinking, or we could use this formula to find the mass of the person. I'll stop the video there and then I'll do the examples.